I was trying to figure out what I did with my 3 random hard drives that I had around here, and here they are. Now I know one of these doesn't work right. It's going to be interesting because I don't remember which one doesn't work right. I just know that one of them doesn't. What do we have here? We have an IBM DeskStar 40 gigabyte. I'm pretty sure this one actually works. I think I just pulled this one out of one of these Net Vistas. So we'll try that one first. So what do we got to do? We got to do the software side of things. And what we're going to do is find yourself access to a computer with a CD burner and the internet, and find yourself a blank CD. And then go to www.freenas.org or freenas. You don't even have to have the www if you don't want. Here's the page you'll see. You got a downloads section. All you got to do is go here to where it says downloads for most people are available on SourceForge, and click that link. Now, immediately you're going to see a big green button, and that's probably going to be the one you're going to want to click. If you're an advanced user, you can get live CDs that are made specifically for 64-bit processors. If you happen to have like an iPhone 64 or an extra Intel Core 2 that you have sitting around. But if you want to be on the safe side, click this big green button and download the CD image that you get. Now I'm going to click cancel on this because I already have this. But what you would want to do is download that CD image. It's not very big. It won't take very long to download. Heck, you could even download it on a dial-up connection. If you'll notice, that CD image was an ISO file, a .iso file. If you're working with Windows on a Windows XP machine, you can download free software called ImageBurn. Just search Google for IMGBURN. Completely free, and it'll burn this ISO file for you. Or if you have Windows 7 or Windows Vista, they both have the functionality to burn disk images built into them. So all you have to do basically is right click on the .iso file, and one of the options is burn disk image. Now it's important that you know that you can't just burn this ISO file, record this ISO file to a CDR like with Windows XP. Just write the file. It's an actual disk image, so you have to have software to write this disk image. That's why I mentioned ImageBurn. It's great software and it's totally free. So I would go into a long how-to about how to burn this disk image, but if you don't know how to burn a disk image, you're going to have serious problems with the rest of this how-to anyway. So, how's that for condescending? So again, I'm assuming you have two things at this point. You have burned your freenas image to a CD. You can see I've got a CDR here that's got freenas burned to it, and freenas written on it. Thank God for Sharpie markers. And you also need, believe it or not, one of these. A floppy diskette. Although it's not floppy. Not like the old ones in the olden days that we had. I'm so old that I remember floppies, and when they were floppy, and when they were about 4 times as big as this. And actually they had some that were about 10 times as big as this. Big old 10-inch floppies. So, anyway, beyond the scope of the how-to. So, I've got my freenas machine sitting here. And the case is open. Oh no, it's not. I've got the machine I've chosen to use for freenas, our old junky machine. I've got it all opened up so I can install a hard drive in it. And the hard drive I've chosen for this little operation is ye old IBM DeskStar, a 40 gig model, made on the 23rd of July 2002. Presumably light use, not very dusty. Who knows, it could have a lot of years left in it. certainly good enough to store some MP3s on over the network or whatever. But again, this is an example. So I've got my hard drive all hooked up, connected to the motherboard, connected to the IDE controller, and power connected to the hard drive. So now, theoretically, all you should have to do is plug this machine up, turn it on long enough to eject the disk drive tray, the CD-ROM drive tray, pop this FreeNAS CD and this floppy disk in, and FreeNAS will be able to do all the rest. So long as you have it hooked up to your network, you shouldn't even have to hook up a monitor. But you may need to edit some BIOS options, so you might have to hook this up to a monitor and a keyboard real quick first run, just to set up the booting order and things like that. And I'll go through that here in just a second. So as you can see here, I've gone ahead and I've hooked up power. I've hooked up a network cable connected to our router, connected to our network, and I've gone ahead and hooked up a video cable and a keyboard. This is just for our initial BIOS setup. So I'm going to switch inputs on the monitor here, and then I'm going to fire this thing up and hope it doesn't give me any embarrassing problems. I know this one works because it used to be our old FreeNAS machine, but oh, that's right, you can't reach the buttons. The old screwdriver can push the buttons. There we go. There we go. This one has 512 megs of memory, I believe. Either that or 256. Let's find out. It's a 1.8 gigahertz Pentium 4. Has 640 megs of memory. Wow, how's that for weird? There we go. You see our floppy drive is installed. You can see our primary hard drive is already being seen. So anyway, what you want to do, and this should be the only thing you should have to do, is go somewhere in your BIOS, and every BIOS is different. You want to make sure your floppy drive is enabled, obviously. You might need to go into IDE drives and check to make sure that your hard drive is detective and you know, any of the performance enhancing qualities are enabled. They are here. And you want to find somewhere there will be a startup section or a section that lets you choose boot order. And this is very important. Here we have startup sequence. And you can see this one, since this was our old FreeNAS machine, this is already set right. And basically, what you want to do is set it to boot from the CD and DVD-ROM only. You don't want it to boot from anything else. You don't want it to even try and boot from the hard drives. You want it to boot from the CD and DVD-ROM. Again, this is for a base setup of FreeNAS. Now there are advanced situations which I'll talk about later, but for now, this is how you want to set it up. So as you can see, my first startup device is the CD or DVD-ROM. That's how you want to set yours up. So now, that's done. All I need to do, you also want to make sure that any of your onboard networking, if there's a toggle for that, you want to make sure it's enabled. It should be by default. And everything else should pretty much be good to go. Now this BIOS may look completely different from yours, but it should have similar options. And if you're advanced enough to want to set up this FreeNAS, you should know pretty much how what you're doing in your BIOS. So I'm going to go ahead and save and exit. Yes. Now, from this point on, I have set up the BIOS the way it should be. I don't theoretically even need a keyboard and mouse anymore.